with the claws in my heart. I can't let go, I'm breaking apart. Controlling me. Controlling me. Just waiting for the network, folks. And then we'll get back after this Paranormal Portal journey that we are embarking on here. Just waiting for it to unmute on the network end. And hope you guys are doing great, though. Thanks for joining me here as well. There we are, folks. We are on the air. Welcome on this fine Saturday evening to another journey into the Paranormal Portal. I'll be your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're ready for adventure, fun, and just some the lowbrow humor we so have come to love here on the show. But I need to let you know, first and foremost of all, I got a light shining right in my eyeball. There we go. That I'm not alone here. I am joined, of course, by my son, my co-host for the evening, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, and hello, everyone. Hope everybody's staying warm in this chilly fall. We got a nice day here up in Minnesota, at least. Hope everyone is ready for another night of terrors, peering into the unknown.
And that was the weather. Thank you, Sheldon. We moved right ahead into the news. No, you did fine. You did fine. But welcome to the show, and welcome to all of you out there. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend evening. As always, it's moving towards the fall, so it's all kinds of dark and gloomy out there, isn't it, man? And
yeah,
got a minion here by my leg too, so it's raining kids around here, man. I'm telling you. So, but we got a full show in line for you guys tonight. Hope you guys are ready to be entertained, because we're going to do our very best to entertain you as well as we know how. There's a little minion forehead in the screen there for those of you on YouTube. There's a little eyes peeking up.
There he is.
It's a family affair here on the Portal, so you got that going for us. And I'm sure Portal Mom's out there in the listening audience. There she is. And Portal Mom's out there. Got two of the kids on screen with me. Oh, someday I'd love to have all three of you, but at least got two of you. And we're gonna get into the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout the course of the night, the call board will be open if you want to call in and listen to the show, or call in and share your experience to the show. You can do that at 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. For those of you on YouTube, just look above my head under the words Paranormal Portal, and you'll see the sign is there. Sign is up there. It's a little small numbers, but it's there. And for those of you on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, well, just hopefully you remember it. But we'll do our best to keep an eye on the TFR chat as well. There's two ways to chat on the show as well if you want to get involved with the community. It's kind of quiet over in the TFR live chat, but that is a chat room that we have available, and it's tfrlive.com/chat. But also you can go over to our YouTube, where we are broadcasting live right now, and that's at youtube.com/paranormal portal, and get involved in the discussion there. So lots of ways to be involved. Right, Elijah? Looks like some kind of sticker thing. No, hold on. I might need that before you start taking things and playing with them. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved tonight on the show if you want to. So without further ado, I think we should probably hit the news. What do you think, Sheldon?
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Okay, well, let's do just that then, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for the Paranormal Portal news coming up right now. What?
Gonna be in the show for the whole entire time?
No, honey. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you the finest in Paranormal Portal news, at least the finest that I could find before the show. So let's get to that now. Please be careful. Don't do that. That's enough. Let me get to the articles that I've got pulled up for you. I don't want you to flip over sideways and go down. That's enough. Okay? All right. Hold on. Sorry. I got to corral minions here. So let's get to the first article tonight. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And the first article on our roster tonight is, let me close the embedded advertisement here. And this is coming from, oh my God, embedded ads. Eesh. I don't like them, but here you go. This is kind of bizarre. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And it's as of November 6th. Loch Ness Monster arrested at COP26 in Glasgow. I'm not sure what it was going on. I guess it's a climate change thing that was going to happen, but it says, officers seized a giant facsimile of the iconic Scottish Loch Monster ahead of its use in a planned protest. The enormous inflatable monster, dubbed the Loch Ness Debt Monster, was going to be part of a protest organized by the Jubilee Department campaign, or debt campaign, rather, until police officers swooped in and confiscated it. Standing 4 meters tall and measuring 8 meters in length, the enormous, brightly colored denizen was taken away because it had reportedly breached Section 20 of the Police and Fire Reform Act. The group had been planning to use it to help raise awareness of the growing threat of climate debt burdens on lower-income countries. The debt crisis facing lower-income countries has been excluded from the debate at COP26, and now police have prevented the Loch Ness Debt Monster from highlighting this fundamental issue, said campaign head Eva Watkinson. It's not clear when or if the giant inflatable Nessie will be returned to its owners. Officers seized the large inflatable due to be launched on the River Clyde as it breached the maritime restrictions in place to maintain public safety and security close to the COP26 venue, said spokesperson for Police Scotland. There you go. Wow. Don't protest with a big Nessie, I guess, is what the takeaway there is. I don't know. It's kind of tragic, really. I mean, yeah, of course, there's financial considerations as well, and that's not as headline friendly as let's just put up solar panels and wind farms and call it a day. But there you have it, folks. That's the first on our articles tonight. If you are, go ahead, have a drink. Just circling like sharks here. That's the first article tonight. Let's get to the next one, and this one is, again, coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Great site. By the way, we would love to have you support them as well. They do a wonderful job putting up these little articles. This is flying humanoid UFO caught on camera over Glasgow. Now, we're not going to play the video, but apparently there's some humanoid-looking UFO over Glasgow. Let's see what it says.
That's curious.
It is curious, isn't it? Yeah. It says a couple in Scotland last week spotted something very unusual flying over the city's skyline. When you hear the word UFO, it's easy to jump straight into the idea of a flying metallic disc or a bright orb of light in the sky. However, in reality, it can be any flying object that is by definition unidentified. Derp. Really?
No way!
No way. Is that simple? Yes, it is, folks. This recent example of a rather more unusual shape of UFO comes courtesy of Lindsay Curry and her boyfriend, who live in Maryhill area of Glasgow, Scotland. Capturing the view from outside their apartment window, they managed to film a very strange object that was flying across the sky, going from the northwest of Glasgow towards the southwest. And it says the object has no obvious means of propulsion, has a very odd shape that almost looks like a figure. Some social media users have speculated it could be someone flying a jetpack, while others maintain that the most likely explanation is that it's some sort of escape balloon. I would agree with that. Yep. There are
Yeah.
also some who believe that the footage represents evidence of alien visitors. Whatever the case, it's certainly an intriguing sight. I think if it looks like a humanoid shape and is floating through the air, you can pretty much bet it's some kind of flying balloon. I just don't think there's any merit to jump to UFO. Let's go right to UFO. You don't go zero to UFO. You cover a lot of bases before you get to UFO, as far as being extraterrestrial craft. I mean, UFO, sure, by definition is UFO, but I don't know. With all the Mylar balloons and stuff and all the weird like superhero ones that they have, that seems the most likely to me. What do you think, Sheldon?
I agree. I mean, they even have. I've seen a video of this where they had like a drone type of thing. It was a prank, but like they had like flying drone like shaped like people like flying through the air and like seeing a bunch of reactions from people. So yeah, I've seen something like that before.
That's true. There's I know I saw a witch on a broom. I've seen a ghost drone. I've seen a Superman drone, not in person, but just videos of those. And
yeah,
I think that's that's very true too. It could just be some kind of drone and somebody just having a hoot. But the last one of these that we covered, I think, was from California or Mexico, and like oh, is this Jesus? It's like you don't go right to Jesus. You just you got to stop before you get to Jesus and think critically a little bit at least first. I'm not saying that that's not how Jesus is going to come back if he does indeed, but I just don't think you run right to that. There's a few stops on the road to that first.
no
in my mind, I mean that's my logical process, I guess. But there you have it. I'm not going to play the video again because first of all, I don't like getting copyright hits, and second of all, because it looks like it's not going to be any much better than that one still frame. So that's it for that one. Let's get to the next one here. Hold on. Let's see what we got. Okay, let's go to the next one here, which is another UFO, as it were. And this one is what?
Can I read it?
Can you read it? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you read that headline for me? You got to do it right in the microphone. Come here. Lean in. What does it say?
Spinning cube shaped UFO filmed over Missouri.
Missouri. Yeah. Good job, dude. High five. Nice work, dude.
Well done.
Awesome. All right. Spinning cube shaped UFO filmed over Missouri. As the minion said. Good job, buddy.
That's my brother right there.
It is. A little smart guy, huh? It says a motorist who spotted something unusual in the skies over Springfield couldn't resist pulling over to film it. 30-year-old Justin Johnson has been driving home from work recently when the sighting occurred. I was driving northbound after I got off of work, and I noticed a very shiny object flying through the sky, kind of heading in my direction, he said. It looked kind of like a solid metal cube that was rotating in multiple directions. Which lasts over 2 minutes, and it is certainly compelling and does indeed show what appears to be a cube-shaped object rotating over and over in the sky. Johnson later admitted that the peculiar sighting had left him haunted. According to records, the object was flying against the wind that day, so I don't believe it was a balloon, he said. Plus, the local FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, said they showed nothing in the area during that time. I've never seen a drone like that and couldn't understand how it could stay in the air with that much flipping. I really couldn't tell you what it was, but it's nothing publicly known about. If I had to put money on a guess, it would be otherworldly origins or secret government tech. Could be.
It is a possibility.
Yeah, I think it really is. Yeah, I don't know. Again, there's a video attached to it, but I want to be careful because I don't want, obviously we can't really show videos anyway because we're on TFR and it doesn't do them any good to show videos. But for those of you on YouTube, you can find this article on unexplained-mysteries.com. And that's where you'll find it. It's a cube-shaped UFO. It's a current news item. So you'll find it if you go over to unexplained-mysteries.com. Very cool. Lots of weird stuff in the sky, Sheldon.
Lots of weird stuff.
They're here, apparently, huh?
I think so.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get to the next one. I knew I had to get into some archive stuff here, too, tonight. Here's a new one, though, another new one. And I thought this was interesting because I guess it's coming, folks. Like it or not, it is coming where space tourism is going to be a part of our regular life. And I think that's really cool. I kind of look forward to it personally. I hope that I live long enough to touch the stars, while I'm still in a body, not after. After
I can't wait to not do that.
What?
Being in space is that's a scary thought for me.
Yeah, but where's your sense
as fascinating as it is,
where's your sense of adventure? Get out and just do something that, up until your generation has never been possible before. We are the first generations to be able to consider, let's go stay on a space station. Obviously it's probably going to have a ginormous price tag, but it's not even been a consideration before this modern era. And now it is. That's exciting to me. That's what I think is really exciting about this stuff, is that it's truly becoming a part of our lives. Like this whole go to space, probably go to Mars before too long as well. It's
just one of those things. If I do it, I'm going to wait till that's all fleshed out and, they kind of,
you don't want to be the first
patch
guy.
The bugs and whatnot.
You don't want to be the beta tester on that one. No, that would be horrible.
No.
That would be horrendous. But let's see what the article says. It says Blue Origin announces plans to build a commercial space station. Jeff Bezos' spaceflight company has revealed its intentions to build a business park in space. Wow. Hot on the heels of its success ferrying tourists up to the edge of space, Blue Origin has now announced it intends to build a commercial space station named Orbital Reef. The ambitious outpost will aim to serve as an industrial and commercial hub in space, offering wealthy customers and businesses the opportunity to operate from and establish their own address in orbit. Wow. I just can't imagine. That's a good commute, though, right? Dang it, I'm late.
Yeah.
This unique destination will offer research, industrial, international, and commercial customers the cost-competitive end-to-end services they need, including space transportation and logistics, space habitation, equipment and accommodation. Operations include onboard crew, the press release reads. Orbital Reef will be operated as a mixed-use business park in space. Shared infrastructure efficiently supports the proprietary needs of diverse tenants and visitors. It features a human-centered space architecture with world-class services and amenities that is inspiring, practical, and safe. I don't know if they can probably put the stamp on safe yet.
No, not yet. That's the goal, though.
Yeah, that's where it's heading.
I'm calling it right now. McDonald's in space.
Yeah, the drive-through up there, huh?
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting at this point.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm here to tell you, like if you're at your normal office and you break a window, it's like, oh, that's like an inconvenience. If you're orbiting Earth and you break a window, that's no longer an inconvenience. That's
called death.
That's called terror. Yeah. So, yeah. And all the garbage that's circling the Earth right now from previous launches and accidents and stuff. I mean, those are like, supersonic bullets flying through space. Even like little, nuts and bolts are like, they could, pound a hole through a space station. So,
they could be traveling at like Mach 4 orbiting around the planet.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing but terrifying. And I think they should get up there and probably vacuum a bit first before they start putting up space stations. But anyway, that's pretty interesting. Nonetheless, that's kind of exciting news, though. Again, it's the whole idea that we're moving towards that, folks. That's going to be a part of reality for all of us in the very near future. And that's exciting. Then from there to the stars. All right. Now I think I had to dig into the archives a little bit here and find some stories. But I found some interesting one. No, this one's still new. This one's kind of creepy, though. I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know this was something that happened. And I don't pretend to be a biologist or anything, but let me just tell you, this one made me do a double take. And I don't know how they even catch them. But anyway, let's get to it. Unexplained-mysteries.com tells us about the horror as a gentle giant tortoise attacks and eats a seabird.
Oh,
They've acquired a taste for blood.
oh, they're vegetarians. Okay.
I don't know. I guess they didn't get the memo. But researchers were shocked to discover that vegetarian reptiles have started hunting down prey. Weighing up at 417 kilograms and measuring up to 1.3 meters in length, giant tortoises have a reputation for appearing outwardly nonchalant, shambling along, munching on vegetation, and seeming about as dangerous as their much smaller domestic counterparts that have been kept as pets for centuries. However, researchers studying the Seychelles giant tortoises, I'm not going to try to say that that name that they have in parentheses there, have made a shocking discovery that it's likely to change how we perceive these gentle giant reptiles. During the summer of 2020, one of the tortoises was captured on camera attacking and then eating a tern chick on Ferngate Island, a private luxury resort that is home to around 3,000 tortoises. Other giant tortoises on the island have also been observed engaging in similar behavior. So that wasn't just the Hannibal Lecter of the tortoises. That's normal. You know?
Wow.
This is completely unexpected behavior and has never been seen before in wild tortoises, said Cambridge University's Dr. Justin Gerlach, or Gerlach, whichever. The giant tortoise pursued the tern chick along a log, finally killing the chick and eating it. It was a very slow encounter, with the tortoise moving at its normal slow walking pace, while the whole interaction took 7 minutes and was quite horrifying. Nobody just thought to go help the chick. This discovery is quite remarkable because until now, at least, tortoises were all thought to be vegetarian, feasting only opportunistically on carrion and on bones when shells is a source of calcium. It is the first time any tortoise species has ever been seen actively hunting and killing prey. These days, Freegate Island's combination of tree-nesting terns and giant tortoise populations is unusual, but our observation highlights that when ecosystems are restored, totally unexpected interactions between species may appear, things that probably happened commonly in the past, but we've never seen before, said Dr. Gerlach. Yikes! It captures a little baby tern. It's a hatchlings, but I guess they're not real fast, huh? Probably not.
I guess not.
Oh, that's horrible.
Wow.
Look at that picture. It's like, mommy. No, I'm not your mommy. Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. I didn't know that. I wish I still didn't know that, actually. That's a little disturbing. I don't know if we're going to have time for all the news articles that I managed to find, but I found one from the archives that's pretty creepy, Sheldon. And this might change the way you handle some of your daily chores in the future. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. This might be kind of disturbing, but from unexplained-mysteries.com, man discovers 6-foot snake inside the toilet.
Oh, come on! I've had worries about that once in a while.
Well, your worries are justified, Sheldon. Here you go. Blue Cross volunteer Peter Edge was shocked to discover an enormous serpent in a shop bathroom. When the 30-year-old first set eyes on the 6-foot orange snake in a toilet bowl in the back of the Blue Cross charity shop in Solihull, he initially believed that someone was pulling a prank on him, but when the creature started moving, he realized that the enormous reptile was actually the real deal. When I saw it, I was in shock more than anything else, he said. It's not every day you see something like that, and I thought it was a rubber snake at first, and when it moved its head. With the help of the store's assistant manager, he was able to free the snake's tail from the back of the toilet cistern, but when they tried to capture it in a basket and managed to break free and promptly disappeared down the U-bend, so it's still in there. Ooh. Yeah, that's terrible. It says, went to the toilet and found a 6-foot-long snake. Eugh. The RSPCA, Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, was called in, but despite a thorough search of the building and surrounding area, no sign of the snake could be found. We have kept the toilet door firmly shut ever since and keep checking to see if he has poked his head up again, but we haven't seen it, said Assistant Manager Amy Wallace. I like snakes, but I was still terrified when stood face to face with one. Now, I don't know, is a orange snake, is that a venomous thing, or is it just a a constrictor type, or what the hell's the deal? I don't know. But I still don't want to. Yeah. Well, I got another one for you if I got enough time. I may have enough time. Let's look. We got 2 minutes. I think I can do it. I think I can. This one's even worse, Sheldon.
Oh, no.
This is the second one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Rat comes out of the toilet, bites man on the behind.
No!
An elderly gentleman using the facilities at his home in Ireland suffered a rather unfortunate injury. Recent flooding and broken sewer pipe are believed to have been responsible for an unexpected visit from an inquisitive rodent from one unfortunate pensioner in Ireland's County Cork recently. The incident, which saw the man receive a painful bite on the behind, is just the latest in a string of problems caused by the floods that has prompted the local council to consider flushing rat poison through the sewer system in an effort to prevent any more unintended visits. Now, this is from 2016, so it's from the archive. But the flooding resulted in another problem for residents, that of a rat infestation, which really upset many families mentally and physically, said Councillor Noel Collins. Indeed, one elderly gentleman suffered a rat bite to his posterior while using the toilet and had to receive an immediate medical attention. Local residents are now being advised to keep their toilet seat lids down when they're not in use. And every woman around the world will appreciate that. Just say it's important to them. I know it is. But there you have it, folks. That's about all we're going to have time for the news. But interesting couple toilet stories tonight, Sheldon.
Yeah, fantastic ones you've chosen.
I know, that's just how we roll here on the portal, but what do you do? What do you do? I think it's plenty creepy kind of stuff, but let's call it the end of the news. What do you say?
I think it's a great idea.
All right, folks, we have reached basically the end of the first segment of the show. We're going to be going to break here momentarily. I'm not sure if I'm going to hear the bumpers or not, so I might just talk right into the, or at least close to the break, unless I hear the bell. If the bell comes in, then we'll know we're on par for the course, as it were. But yeah, I don't know. No, I'm not seeing anything there. It doesn't look like we're going to hear any bumper, but ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our first break of the night. Don't go away. We'll be right back for more of the Paranormal Portal. Don't go away. I should probably mute or unmute myself, right? We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and back at it here on the. I don't hear the bumpers, so I lose track of time. I lose track of everything. But I remembered I'm doing a show, which is good. How you doing, Sheldon?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Did you have a good break?
I did. I just sat here and stared at the screen. It was great.
Oh yeah, you're keeping an eye on the chats.
Yes.
It's always an adventure in the chat rooms, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not already taking part in the YouTube chat, you can get over there, and there's always fantastic discussion going on over there, huh? Don't you know?
Oh, yeah.
I went full Minnesotan there. Don't you know, huh?
Oh, yeah, you know.
Oh,
up here in Minnesota.
Oh, you betcha. All for crying in the mud. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a lot more Paranormal Portal coming. And right now we're going to head to an article that we've been, Don and I covered last night, and I think we covered on Wednesday night as well a little bit, but we're going to cover more of it tonight. It's a pretty good article. Now, full disclosure, folks, sometimes these aggregated articles like this, they're pulling from a pool on Reddit, and sometimes the same stories get pulled into more than one article. So if you hear redundancies, I can tell you I've never read this specific article on any prior shows except for that we've been going through in recent past, but I have become aware and been made aware of some repeats that have come up. But it's just the nature of the business. It's just the nature of the beast. There's certain spots where a lot of these authors pull encounters and things from Reddit and such. And so if you hear repeats, it's not because I'm trying to recycle old material. It's just because there's just so many people using the same pool. But it's been a great article, and there's been a lot of stories that we haven't heard before. So just keep that in mind as you're on the journey here with us. This next one is not, it's not paranormal at all, but it is creepy. It's really creepy. I pre-read this one before the show when I was like, And this is the kind of thing that you hear about, not real commonly, but it comes up every once in a while, and it seems to be, sometimes now you hear more about it in the news than I think I've ever heard in my entire life. But that's encouraging. That's good. But anyway, let's check it out. This is number 31. The article is from factinate.com, and it's spooky experiences. And let's get to it now. Are you ready, Sheldon?
Always.
Always ready. He's always ready, folks. Number 31, from playdate to child abduction. Ugh. It was a very long time ago, back in 1973, and I know that it was the summer. I was 6, and we were living on Monica Lane in Madison, Wisconsin. Thing is, I sort of recalled it, but never put 2 and 2 together until a few months ago when I was talking to my mom, who went into great detail. The more she talked, the more terrified I got. I was a very gregarious child, outgoing, extroverted, friends with anyone. It was at the time a middle class neighborhood, and 3 houses down from ours on the same side of the street was a huge park. My mom was a nurse and my dad was a salesman, but mom worked the second shift at Meritor while my dad worked days, and I rarely had a babysitter. Only if they went out for dinner or a movie, but they did go out often, and there was always older kids in the neighborhood to babysit. One sitter who I really liked lived a few blocks or so away and down the street a little bit. Vicky had babysat a few times before that, and it was pretty uneventful. She'd play games with me and do my hair and play dress up, pretty basic stuff. So anyway, one day I'd gone with friends down to the park, and I remember there was a ball field at the time and a sandlot next to the ball field. My friends wanted to play on the monkey bars, so I wanted to play in the sand. I looked at the sandbox, and my babysitter Vicky was standing there, and I told my friends I was going to go down to the sandbox, and I ran off. We played in the sand, building a castle, and then she asked me if I wanted to go get something cold to drink. Well, it was stifling hot, and I, of course, said yes. So she takes my hand, and we start walking to her place. She starts telling me about her puppies and asking if I wanted to play with them. Well, of course. I get giddy, and now I can't wait to get to her house. This was where my memory had stopped. After my mom told me what happened, the rest of the horror story came flooding back. My mother just happened to be talking to my sister and I about some of the places we lived, and we got to Monaco Lane. And I told her I remember the park and how big it seemed, and she asked if I remember being kidnapped. Well, I immediately thought she was kidding, and then the look on her face told me otherwise. She said it was around 5 in the afternoon, and one of my friends had come to the door and asked me to come back outside, sure that I had gotten bored, and walked home. Then my mom checked the house. She realized that I wasn't there, and 7 months pregnant with my sister sprints to the park, screaming my name. After asking several kids if they'd seen me with no clue, she went to the ball field and asked the older boys if they'd seen me, and one of the boys, she guessed around 14, said that he'd seen a younger woman playing with a girl that fit my description in the sand and walk off in a general direction, and that was all he knew. My mom ran across the street to one of the houses and asked to use their phone and called the authorities. By the time the officers got there, my dad had come home and some of the neighbors were trying to help my mom. So there's this search party out looking for me, screaming my name and knocking on doors, and the officers had gone back to the park to ask the boys if they knew who had been with me and if they knew who she was. Between the boys and the neighbors, they had deduced who it was that had led me off. But I have no idea how, honestly. The officers and the entourage go to her home. She lived with her parents, but they weren't home. And knock on the door, and she came to the door and told them she hadn't seen me, but that she'd been home all day. They asked to come in, and for some reason she said okay. They went through the house and went to the basement and found me. That's what my mom knew, and then I remembered. It was literally like a floodgate had opened, and I started crying. At 6, you sort of trust everyone, and she'd been in our home. I never got a bad feeling from her, and my parents didn't either. But then we walked into her house, and I remember that cold, holy feeling washing over me and getting very worried. I remember starting to cry and saying I wanted to go home over and over. She takes me into her kitchen and gets me a glass of water and a tissue. Well, I hear dogs barking, next to the kitchen is an open stairway that goes down where the barking was coming from. She starts trying to cajole me into going downstairs, telling me there's all sorts of toys and games. Well, I reluctantly agree, and she grabs my hand to head down the stairs. The dogs are going nuttier, and I start screaming. At this point, Vicky's getting bizarre. She's screaming at me, "Shut up! If you don't shut up, I will throw you in the cage with the dogs, and they'll eat you. Shut up!" Dragging me down the stairs, and I'm still screaming. I was scared out of my mind, and I remember crying so hard that I was hyperventilating. And I'm screaming so hard I'm not making sounds. Vicky then flips a switch and starts being syrupy sweet, trying to calm me down. She tells me that she was just playing a game and tells me she wants to play hide and seek. She must have been relatively skilled at calming me down, because the next thing I know, I hear knocking on the door upstairs, and I wasn't crying. The houses were all the same sort of tract houses that Sears used to sell. Not huge, but not small, and you could hear everything at any spot in the house. I kept hearing the knocking, and she tells me that it's her friends. They're coming to play hide and seek. She convinced me to let her put a piece of masking tape over my mouth so I wouldn't make a sound. She lifted me into this big wooden box next to the kennel. She put a big pile of blankets over me and told me to be really quiet so they didn't find me. The whole time the dogs were going crazy, but then she calmed me down, and they calmed down too. They still looked incredibly mean, but they were no longer frothing at the mouth, only slightly growling, until the knocking started. I remember scrunching in there, confused, still scared, and convinced the dogs were going to get out and eat me. I was crying again and hyperventilating, and I remember taking the tape off my mouth because I couldn't breathe, but I remembered I needed to be quiet because I was afraid of what she'd do if I screamed. I laid in that smelly box next to a big bag of dog food, sweating to like crazy, tears rolling down my face. I sort of pushed the blankets to the side, but only enough so that I could pull them back over me when someone came. I recall thinking about my dad and wondering if he'd come to find me, and then all of a sudden, I hear what sounds like adults yelling my name. They come down the stairs, and the dogs are going crazy again. Over and over, men are yelling my name, and I hear a man say, "If you don't shut those dogs up, I will." I was in a large storage box, like a carpenter's toolbox type of thing, with tape hanging off my mouth. When they opened the lid, I remember a very nice man asking me my name and if I was okay. I don't remember answering him in anything other than screams and tears and grabbing his neck so hard my dad had to practically pry me off of him. I remember my parents taking me to the hospital to be checked out, and that's all I really remember. Mom said that Vicky was found guilty of attempted kidnapping, and last she knew she was in prison but couldn't remember when the last time she had heard anything. We moved from the area shortly after, and I haven't been back since. I don't know what... I do know that Mom said that her parents were odd, but that they didn't know them. She had met Vicky from neighbors that had used her as a babysitter and never heard anything bad, and that I always seemed happy with her. She lived in the general neighborhood, but it would have been 2 blocks over and 1 block down. Mom said they never picked her up. She always walked over, but when they'd get home, they'd drive her home, but never noticed anything out of the ordinary. Mom and Dad had only met her parents when they came to the door to ask for forgiveness, that Vicky hadn't meant to do anything bad and was a good girl. Mom said my dad picked up her dad by the shirt and told him if they ever came on our property again, he'd kill them. I remember her name and sort of what she looked like, but would have no idea if she walked up to me who she is. Yikes!
My God.
How's that for a lot of spooky?
That's nuts.
That is nuts. That's really, really super creepy.
I mean, it's a happy ending, at least.
Yeah. But what a terrifying situation for a little kid. Oof.
Yeah.
Hey, Grassman. Will Omer's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, that's all kinds of creepy. I don't know what's up with that. There's some twisted people in the world, but again, it wasn't a paranormal story, but it's just a really twisted story. So it's not normal, I guess.
It's not. It's definitely not.
Definitely not.
The one thing I never understand about actions like that,
mm-hmm.
and it's probably something that has to do with some sort of mental illness or something. Maybe that's why I don't understand it. But like, why attempt something like that this day and age when we have? Well,
it was the 70s. This was 1974, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This story was, but it's still going on. I mean, this is not something that's just gone away. It still happens, but
I guess for whenever they're attempted today, I don't understand that. Why risk like the rest of your life doing something that's just 99% of the time you're not going to get away with it. Nothing's good going to come out of it. I don't get it. I just don't.
Oops, I muted myself. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all kinds of twisted and weird, and it's scary that there's those kind of people in the world, right? Like, there's people that, to them, it makes sense that they should be able to do this. Like, they don't have the moral compass to go, whoa, that's not right. Why would somebody do that? They don't have those normal barriers that people have. Like, this is mine and my family. These are my people. Those are not my people. Those are somebody else's family and loved ones and people. And, how do you get to the point? And I don't want to understand it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm glad I don't understand it, because I think if you understand the madness, then it kind of stains you a little bit. So thank God I don't get it. But it's just, there's so much broken in the world, and there's so many people that don't have any sense of sympathy or empathy. They're almost mechanical in their ways. Like, I want, I, me, I, and there isn't, this whole general goodwill that, I like to believe that most people have, but there's plenty of people that don't.
Eric has a point in chat. He said it, and it very well could be that, is that he said, Sheldon, because there's a small chance that you will get away with it. And that's true. Maybe these people think like that they're that 1%, that they're smart enough to get away with these things. But
yeah,
I do think what you said definitely plays into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just strange. There's just like some trigger that is normal psychology did not fire in these people. It didn't turn on. It's like the switch that never went on that should have. And I don't know if that comes from a place of personal damage or if it's just, mental illness, like you were saying. Is it just there's, like a psychopathic or a sociopathic person has no concept of somebody else's pain. They have no concept of the pain that they may be giving to somebody else, and it's maybe intriguing to them. Maybe it's more, I don't know. It's just strange. But anyway.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of broken in the world, and thank God that child was found. Of course, but man, oof, it's kind of in cases like that. Maybe it's a good thing that block went up, or she only remembered walking with the lady, and then it just kind of went dark. But when she had this talk with her mom, boom, it all came back, and she remembered all those other details, because maybe that was her coping mechanism. She just shut it off, and was then able to hopefully have a normal life, just be able to not have that pain triggered. But now that she's aware of it, I'm sure that'll change things a bit. But those are the kind of things that just don't go away,
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Well, let's go to the next one, because we got actual paranormal stuff going on here too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I just wanted to read that because I just thought, wow, that's, you hear about these trafficking rings getting busted, and it's like, wow, good job, guys. These law enforcement agents that are cracking these things open. And it's like, yes, bring these kids home, bring these people home, and, restore some part of them, because it's what a horrible feeling. There's some things that I can't imagine, and I never want to imagine. And one of the things is to have somebody take my child. I don't know what that would do to me, but I'm sure that it would break me. I would be a fractured, destroyed person, because there's some things I don't think you can heal from, and that would be one of them. Wow. But anyway, enough going on about that. Number 32, monsters under the bed. Let's check out this one. My old house was definitely haunted. My normally quiet dog would growl in an empty, dark rooms, and I'd see shadows quickly move across the hallway. The worst moment, though, was when I was about 9. I couldn't fall asleep. I was randomly looking around my room when I saw some sort of creature crouched in the corner with a dark body and a bright red face. Now, being a wimpy little kid, I immediately wrapped myself in my bed covers and forced myself to sleep. I never saw the thing again, but it still creeps me out to this day. Yikes. So, is that the imaginations of a kid, or is it a real phenomena? What do you think?
I think, obviously we can't know for sure, but I guess what I think is, if it was real enough to him and that they know, then I think that's enough evidence for me.
Sure.
Because, even with my experiences, I don't expect anyone to believe my stories and whatnot, but I know it's real. It happened to me.
Good point. Yep. And 9 is not like 3 or 2. 9 is, you've got in many cases, a pretty rational thought process, So if you say you saw something, you maybe very well did. But that's creepy. That was by Putin the Fabulous. Who wrote the other one? It was by Jesus Schreiss. 1966. Okay. Got it. I figured it out. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Number 33, No Laughing Matter. It says, my dad bought this old rundown house as a fixer-upper. That's how it starts. I was about 8 or 9 at the time, so I couldn't do too much to help him, but I remember helping him clean out the attic. It was full of tons of old newspapers and toys. The people must have been hoarders, just tons of doll toys and cars and all of that. Well, that creeped me out on its own, but I only found out the real story much later. Uh-oh. This one sounds like not so much haunted as something else. This is the really scary part. The part my dad waited until we were grown up to tell us. One person came by to look at the house when it was near finished and for sale. She said she really wanted it because it was full of spirits. My dad thought she was wacky, but whatever. If that's what she liked, good for her, I guess. Sometime later, my dad and mom are laying in bed at the house when they hear a woman laughing somewhere in the corridors. They both rolled over and just looked into each other's eyes as they listened. They stayed that way until it stopped, then never talked about it for a long time. They both get chills when they tell that story now. So they had one event. That's not too bad, right?
No, that's not bad at all. As
Right.
if it's reoccurring, that's where it gets worrisome.
Right. When it's happening a bunch of times, then you got a problem. But if it's a one-off, well, pretty good. Maybe the spirit was like, hey, you did a great job. Woo! Place
And
looks
just pieced
great.
out, yeah.
Then just went back to hibernation or whatever they do. I don't know. Number 34, the Midnight Visitor. This happened about 2 months ago. I was alone in the house as my parents were away working for the weekend. They were due back that evening. But then my mom texted me saying they'd broken down and were waiting for a tow truck to pick them up. I asked them if there was anything I could do, so they told me to go to sleep as they'd probably be back late. Fast forward to 3 a.m., I woke up to use the toilet, and when I left the bathroom, I glanced over to my parents' bedroom and the door was shut, and I could see a light on inside. It had been open and dark when I went to bed, so I thought, oh, they must be home. I stumbled towards the door and remember stopping myself thinking, no, I won't go in. I'll just speak to them in the morning. So I turn back towards my room and I go back to sleep. I awoke to terror. The sound of the front door opening downstairs. I glanced at the clock. It was 45 minutes after I had last woken up. I thought it was a bit strange and got a tense feeling in my stomach. I walked out of my bedroom and glanced over at my parents' room, only to see the door open and the light off. The bed was also made so that no one had been in it. I felt sick. I went downstairs and nervously asked my mom, have you just got home? And she was like, yeah, why? I just sat staring into space wondering what the heck happened. And I'm still wondering now. That was by the SF-91. Well, apparently you're not alone.
Not as alone as you once thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, a door shut and a light on, but yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to be, right? That would be creepy. Yeah. That's kind of creepy to think that as you sleep, someone might be wandering around. And I don't mean like a living person. I mean like a spiritual person. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing? You know, are they in their own reality, living their own life kind of thing? Or is it something else? I don't know. You know,
I've wondered that. I mean, honestly, for years, once in a while, think about that. Like, what if ghosts is just like a time thing?
Mm-hmm. Right. And
it's not really two entities, in different planes or whatever. What if it's just you're seeing something from a different time, or whatever that might be?
Right.
It's so curious. These are the questions that I wish there was an indication of an answer, but there's just not.
No, I think there is those cases, though. I think that's where it's more of a time echo than an actual haunting. Like there's just some instances where it seems pretty clear that the ghosts can be as surprised to see the people as the people are to see the ghosts, and that to me means if they're looking at you shocked, like what the hell's that, and you're looking at them shocked, going what the hell's that, then maybe you're both in your own time, but there's this little shimmer or this little thinness that allows you to perceive each other for that moment. Ghost Magnet 81 asks, when does the paranormal become normal? Well,
never.
But then again, who wants to be normal?
Yeah, being normal's boring.
That's right. We love the paranormal. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's the only chance it has to be the normal is when there's enough people and enough study and research goes into it to at least validate the phenomena on a scientific level. Then we can perceive it as the normal, because maybe we'll have some kind of understanding of the mechanics, whether they're quantum mechanics, whether they're just parts of physics we didn't understand before, or what. But once we understand the mechanics or have the ability to understand the phenomena, then it just becomes normal. Like the panda was paranormal. It was a cryptid. that was rumored to live in the mountains of China, and it was a silly notion that there was this huge bear that ate vegetables. Nobody believed it, and they thought it was all ridiculous and supposed to have a white and black pelt, and none of that made sense to anybody back then. And after, many years of researching and sending expeditions out, they finally found pandas. And so the panda quit being a cryptid and just became a zoological specimen. And I imagine the same thing is for any other thing like UFOs, the paranormal, the ghostly stuff. It all becomes normal once we understand, or at least have an idea of the mechanics that create it, And so the acknowledgement, the official acknowledgement, I think is the difference. Normal is a false word. You're right, Ethan. There really isn't any normal. There's just a whole lot of perceptions, and but some are agreed on. And it is, I guess, it is possible that there will never be a normal paranormal. But then again, I don't know that I want to live in the world that the paranormal is normal. I mean, it's normal to me because it's been a big part of my life for years, and for many other people have just a lifetime. And I've interviewed several for the podcast. People have had lifetimes of experiences with the paranormal. But at any rate, we are going to go to our hour break, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we don't have the bumpers, but I can tell by the clock we should be hearing it. So let's go to the hour break, and we'll be right back in a couple minutes to continue our journey into the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, flipping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed. Don't
still muted because they are listening to the poltergeist thing right now. Mommy. You know, the poltergeist thing that we usually do? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just wondering if you're catching that thing.
I did.
Okay. Poltergeist thing, you know? Okay.
The reference to the movie? Yeah.
Yes, the news clip or the clips that I put together for the poltergeist, of course.
It's actually a really good movie.
It is.
We'd watch that.
Yeah, you should watch it. Why not? Check it out, dude. It's a great movie. It's one of my all-time favorites. I don't really think of it as a horror movie. I think it's just more of a thriller kind of movie. But yeah, to me,
I would agree.
I don't watch horror movies because it's like, oh yeah, I don't need to see different ways to carve people up. No, I'm good. You know, it's like, oh yeah, good. I'd never seen power tools used like that. That's not what I want for entertainment. That's not entertainment to me. So, but the supernatural, I think, is fascinating and cool and all that. So, but
carving up people in the paranormal.
No, that's just creepy. That's just creepy. We don't do that here, huh? No, you betcha. Don't you know? Sheldon, do you talk like a Minnesotan?
Oh, once in a while, eh?
That's right. I suppose that's probably true, huh? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we are back at it here on the Paranormal Portal. We are diving into all kinds of paranormal goodness tonight, and we are thrilled you're here with us. If you want to call in and be a part of the discussion, please feel free to call in to 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. There's the numbers of fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. So if you call it, I might just answer. Might.
We might.
Otherwise, if you call it, nobody answers. We're busy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It happens sometimes, so I don't always see it, and then I'll see it when it's far too late. But let's get back to the article that we're working through on Factinate.com, ladies and gentlemen. Then we're going to get into a couple of stories out of Russia of some, well, the first one is some kind of UFO thing, and the other one's some creature under the ice. And so we're going to get into those in just a little bit here because we love some creature stuff on this show too. But this list has been really good. Even though not all of them are paranormal per se, they're all really creepy and twisted, But
true. Yeah.
So far, they have pretty good endings. I'm glad you weren't listening last night. Were you listening last night, Sheldon?
I wasn't, actually.
Okay, good, because there was a story about a little kid getting, abused, and it was really rough. I didn't like that one. But yeah, I know you wouldn't, because I remember how disturbed you were after you read the book It, or a boy named
Child Called It.
Child
oh my
Called
god!
It. Yeah. When you were in school, it was like, ugh, yeah. I didn't even know about the story before you told it to me, but it's like, oh my god. My hat's off to that guy to continue to go on and have a good life in despite all that. But man, there's some things that are just contrary to nature. All right. Number 35 on our list tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Team Reassemble. What are they, Transformers? What's going on? I don't know what I'm reading here, but it says, I was calibrating medical x-ray equipment in an emergency room of a level 1 trauma center. I heard the usual sounds, voices, doors opening, chairs shuffling, but then I heard this kid crying. He was actually screaming with what sounded like a very powerful set of lungs. I guessed he could have been around high school age. Everyone was moving quickly, as they normally did, but their faces showed grave concern. When one of the techs had a moment, I took the chance to ask if it was a kid who fell from his treehouse, and he shook his head and said it was a full-grown man who came in, some assembly required. Oh, no. I could not resist and took a peek. Big mistake. The man, over 6 foot tall and 200 pounds, wearing a leather jacket, lost his arm just above his elbow, and one of his legs was twisted in the opposite direction it was supposed to be in. It was a visual that I will never get out of my head. With that much blood, I can still smell the iron permeating the air, but that's what I get for looking. That was by Cat Daddy Whisper. Yikes. Yeah, that's something you can't unsee.
Yeah, true.
Oh, poor guy. Well, I hope it all worked out okay. Jeez. Number 36, pest control. I was on a trail backpacking and stayed at a multi-story shelter, which was like a barn. These shelters were notoriously overrun by rodents, so Things have to be stored in trees most of the times. It's a group of strangers sharing the barn, which made it a great way to make new friends. One morning, I woke up to a large thud. I thought it was my imagination, but I kept hearing it. Well, I peeked my head down the ladder and saw a guy sitting there really still with a headlamp pointed at some peanut butter crackers. What I saw next was absolutely gruesome. A rat approached the crackers and he slammed a knife into it. Then he took it and pulled it into a stack of other rats who'd met the same fate. It creeped me out a lot, but the guy was rather chill for what he did and made everyone coffee the next morning. He had totaled over a dozen rats, and then we had a funeral pyre for them. It was at the very edge of space. Huh. It was trail backpacking. Oh, okay. Well, there you have it. Yeah, you got to get rid of the rats, I guess, unless you want them chewing into everything. But yeesh. Paranormal weirdness and madness.
Yes, that's one way to do it.
Well, they didn't seem to be short on sticky traps out there in the... Although I think those are more inhumane than anything. Like, hey, let's just glue things until they suffocate.
Yeah.
Those are horrible. I hate those glue traps.
Or starve, yeah.
Well, either way, I mean, it's just gruesome. They just sit there and scream. It's like, come on. Ugh. Just a snap and it's over. Just do the snap thing. But the whole glue trap, I think, is just horrid. Ugh. All right. Number 37, street smarts. One day I was coming home from my school, and there, in between two buildings, were 3 big guys beating up another guy. The guy was on the ground and had blood all around his head. One of them noticed me and walked over. He was wearing an orange ski mask and pulled it off. He got on one knee, so he's on my level. This massive guy stared at me straight in the eyes and said, "This is a bad guy. We're teaching him a lesson, okay?" I nodded very fast. I was so scared. He smiled at me and then said to keep it a secret, not to tell anyone what I saw. Well, I nodded again, and he told me to go home. I obeyed and took off running all the way home. When I got there, I just sat on my porch shaking. I realize now that the fact that he took off his mask was to make me feel less scared, but if he was a different person, he could have taken off his mask because he didn't care if I saw his face. He would have made sure I didn't live to remember. That was by Mr. Chill, 26. Yeah, those bad guys, sometimes they need lessons. I'm just kidding. It's horrible. I'm just being a dick. I'm sorry. That's the low-hanging fruit, folks. That's what you get here on the Paranormal Portal. There's no highbrow hanging out here. It's all stuff that's dangling. Number 38, behind closed doors. My uncle was babysitting me when I was a kid, and he brought me to work with him one day. He was a landlord for some buildings in the city at the time, and he'd received complaints from the neighbors that an elderly woman had not been seen for a while. Oh, that's a bad start. She lived on the ground floor, and her door was locked from the inside. So he had me climb in through the window, oh no, to open the door. I crawled through the window and, being naturally curious, followed the awful smell instead of going straight to the front door. In the bedroom, I found this lady's body face up on the ground. The place was a mess, so I'd assumed the smell was something else. I bolted to the front door and watched them take her away in the ambulance. I don't know anything else, and I never really talked about it, but it was a weird day. You don't have kids crawl through windows to do that. What the hell? They got to live with that after that.
Yeah, true.
You just don't have a little kid go do that. Hey, see me and squeeze through the window. No, just break the lock.
Or either that or just call the police and say it's a welfare check.
Yeah, exactly. Have the police break it. Yeah, whatever. Number 39, sounding off. In the middle of the summer 2 years ago, I was sleeping in my bed peacefully when I heard the loudest thunder I've ever heard in my life. Well, normally I'm not afraid of thunder, but this time my entire house shook as if it was a huge earthquake. Well, I shake it off and go back to sleep. No big deal. The next thing I knew, I was jolted awake by a flash of bright purple lightning and the loudest thunder that Zeus could possibly create. Then I started to hear the screams. It seemed as if outside my window was a choir of demented Satan-spawned creatures screeching in cries of agony as I laid in bed terrified. I thought to myself, this is actually happening. I can hear them. This is how it ends. Later I found out the screams were just a pack of foxes that were scared by the intense lightning, but still, that was some scary stuff right there. Yeah, I guess so. Mr. Uncreative Man. So, this story was submitted by Mr. Uncreative Man, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, this fox is screaming. I've heard foxes scream. They got a really weird scream. I've heard them yip. I've heard them make all kinds of noise. I had this fox that loved me for some reason and was very tame. To me, at least.
Or was that sounds familiar. I feel like you've told me about that before.
Well, didn't you? Do you remember it at all? There was a wild fox on at our house on the beach, and I could hand feed it.
That's right. That's where. Yeah, you told me about it. I never saw that though.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Well, yeah, it would come around for days and then not for a week and then for days and then a few more days and then it was just kind of intermittent. It would just show up, but it freaked me out at first because I was like, "Why are you walking right up to me? This is really weird." And it just kept coming. And I thought, well, maybe it doesn't see me, so I shined a flashlight on myself, and it did. It just kept coming up and looking at me like, "Hey, what you doing?" It was really weird. But he or she and I got to be friends, and I'd play with it. I'd lay on the ground, and it would come up and nip my slipper, and then run around me, and then nip my slipper. And it was really
playing
funny.
with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was playing with me. It was a really, really sweet animal. I don't know if it's still around over there in Minnesota or not, but I hope it's okay. I guess probably not. It's been a few years now. I don't know how old it was at the time. So anyway, number 40 is the window shopping. I was about 15 minutes from finishing the night shift at work when there was a massive crash on one of the windows in the office. So I get up and go check it out. Someone has thrown quite a sizable rock through one of the windows on the front of the building. This is made especially weird because I'm working in an industrial district at 11:30 at night with none of the other businesses in the area open. I go back to my desk to put a quick call through to security to let them know and decide to head home. As I'm leaving the building, I'm freaking myself out about it more and more, and I end up running to my car, getting in, and taking off. I'm almost home, and I've started to calm down a bit when I make a disturbing realization. I hadn't unlocked my car when I got it back in from work. It had been unlocked the whole time. I do a quick check with my hand in the back seat for any possible creeps that might be hanging around there, but there's nothing there. Well, fast forward 30 minutes. I've called a friend of mine who says he is out drinking, so I decide I'm going to go join him. I jump on my bike and start riding over. I'm doodling along the road on my bike. It's a nice night, and I'm in no big rush. I'm just enjoying the moonlight when I hear someone riding behind me. I straighten up and stick to one side of the road, and he passes me really slowly, and when he is right beside me, he shoots me a smile I can only describe as purely insane. I kind of flinch and am taken back as he rides on. All of a sudden, sheer terror washes over my body. I realize he's riding my mom's bike. Needless to say, I sprinted the heck home. When I got there, sure enough, her bike was missing and one of my car doors was open. The back left one. I was driving and I had no need to open that door. He gave this guy a ride home and a bike.
Wow.
That was by Crank Loza. Okay. Yeah, well, that's weird. Again, not really paranormal, but just definitely weird.
Yeah.
Gives him a wicked smile like, hey. I mean, the guy was fearless.
Thanks for the bike.
He's riding his bike like, hey, loser. Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird. You don't see that every day, folks. Number 41, climb every mountain. About a year ago, I was climbing a tree in my front yard at around 4:30 in the morning. Perfect time for climbing trees, I understand.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
4:30 in the morning? Jesus. I'd walked a lady friend to her car and was chilling until I got the I'm home text. The weather was nice for tree climbing, so I just did it. This particular night, my neighbors didn't lock their gate like they normally do, leaving easy access to their tool shed, lawnmower, etc. I guess the guy forgot. It happens, but it was definitely noticeable. It was a large gate right next to the road with a bunch of expensive old man tools right behind it. So as I observed the gate from my lofty perch and considered all the reasons it might have been open, I noticed a car coming down my street very slowly, eventually coming to a halt right in front of my neighbor's driveway. I looked into the car and saw two young men pointing and looking intently around his yard. Sketchy stuff during daylight, but more so at night. After a minute or so of being too nervous to do anything at all, I realized I was leaning pretty heavily on some branches, exposing myself more than when those two had just driven up. That was when it happened. The guy in the passenger seat noticed me first. He did a panicky sort of double take, and he first saw me, followed by what I generally assumed to be the words, "Oh no," and rapidly punched the driver in the arm, attempting to look menacing. I did the only thing I could, which was to hold my arms up in a claw-like pose, like an angry T-Rex, or it says an angry tree-rex. When the driver saw me, he did some panicky double take before slamming the gas and hauling out of there as fast as he could. I like to think I was the creepiest thing those two ever saw. That was by the Silver Man Cometh. Yeah, it was all a trap. They probably thought, this is a trap.
Either that or they thought completely forgot the name of them.
Rake.
The cryptids that shapeshift.
Skinwalker.
That's them, yes.
That's them. Yep. Skinwalkers.
Never mind. My joke's gone now.
It's all right.
It's been destroyed.
It's burning up. The wreckage is on the runway. Yeah. Never took off. Number 42, tuning in. As a kid, I was playing around with a radio once, just slowly spanning through the static, trying to find a station. I'd found an old television antenna, attached it to the side of our house, and ran a wire out of my window with an alligator clip attached to the radio antenna, allowing me to get way broader range of stations or signals. So I'm sitting there, middle of the night, slowly sweeping frequencies. And suddenly, I get this station that's playing this very weird crackling sound. It sounded sort of like cracking knuckles or maybe Rice Krispies cereal, but in a fixed rhythmic pattern instead of being random. I sat there listening to it for a second, then it suddenly stopped, and I heard something bone-chilling. This faint voice said, "It doesn't work. We're already gone. We're already gone." It took a second for the weight of the words to hit me, but then they did, and I freaked the heck out and almost threw the radio across the room. I'm pretty sure it was just someone messing around with a radio transmitter, but it sure scared the heck out of me at the time. Yeah, that's not what you like to hear on your radios.
Nope.
That was by Big Saul 81. That's pretty good.
Maybe it's a sign that he's in the simulation.
It's the simulation.
It's the simulation.
It could be. I don't know. That's very strange. I don't know. If it's on a standard radio, though, I wonder. I mean, all of those are all of the signals on the standard wavelength of the radio. Aren't they all monitored by the FCC or whatever? And you need a license to use them. I mean, you could probably broadcast on them if you can just set your frequency or whatever. But I don't think it's normally legal. It's kind of like pirate radio, right?
Oh,
the old pirate radio.
I actually
stations.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway. Number 43, standing ovation. Not all of these are really paranormally, so I don't know if that bugs you guys or not, but I think they're all interesting, so I hope you're enjoying them all the same. Mm-hmm. Are you enjoying them okay, Sheldon?
I'm loving it so far.
Okay, good. All right, standing ovation, number 43. When I was around 20, we had this weird neighbor that we didn't think too much about. And one night I was awake at 2 a.m. and noticed out my window that I could see the reflection of a fire, so I went into the complete dark living room and peeked through the window to make sure it wasn't someone's house. It was the neighbor with a bonfire in his driveway. He was just standing with his back to the fire, staring directly at me. Now, I haven't made a sound or anything. There's no way he heard or saw me coming. He was just staring directly at me, so being completely freaked out, I went to bed and couldn't fall asleep because I was convinced he was going to murder me. About half an hour later, I hear crunching, and I'm like, it's probably just a raccoon in the driveway. And then I hear clapping. I look out from my window to the driveway, and there he is standing in my gravel driveway, clapping and staring directly at my bedroom window. That's weird. What the hell? That guy.
Wow.
Come on, Phil, go home.
Jeez.
What the hell, Phil? This is my driveway. Go home. Yikes. That's a creepy neighbor. Let's go to this one, number 44, a late night snack. My parents were out one night, and my brother and I were home alone. We were probably 12 and 10 at the time, respectively. Anyway, there's a knock at the door, and I hear the voice say, "Pizza." Initially think it was my father playing a joke. I instinctively went to open the door, and that's when I made a disturbing realization. It wasn't my dad's voice. "We didn't order any pizza," I said. There was no reply, no audible movement. I went to my bathroom window, which allows some vision to the footpath leading to the front of our property, to the front door, but you can't see the door itself from there. So we waited for about 15 minutes, clutching a cricket bat and some ornamental fireplace poker, until finally the dude moves away from the door and walks away. Just some guy with dark hair and a long ponytail, a long dark coat, and no pizza.
Oh.
Yeah, Wolfman Ravi. I had a situation like that once, and special thanks to Xena for making it clear. But an ex-girlfriend at the time was staying with me, and in my old Victorian home, and she went to the store, which was only a couple blocks away, and came back, and she said this guy started following me, and I was like, "Oh, really?" And so she said, "Yeah," but I hustled home and got in here, and all of a sudden, I hear my side porch door open, and then the handle rattles on the inside screen door, like whoever it is trying to come right in. Well, my German Shepherd just cruised over to the door, and I was right behind her. And there's a guy, a man in a leather jacket, just standing there, his eyes as big as saucers, looking at the dog. And I'm like, "Can I help you?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, man, I'm just in the neighborhood trying to sell some magazines, I just wonder if you need magazines." And I'm like, "We don't need magazines." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, man, I'm out." And he took off. But that man was going to come into the house. And thank God for my dog. Because maybe I would have been a deterrent, maybe not. I don't know what this guy was all about. But having a, 80-pound pissed off German Shepherd at the door was enough to change his mind. And God bless her. She was a great dog. But yeah.
And did he have magazines in his hands to sample?
He had nothing in his hands except his hands were wide open up to his side like, "Hey, hey, hey." So he did not have any magazine memorabilia. No sign-up forms at all that I saw, Sheldon.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah, but I mean, this is even in a small town, so I mean, that stuff still happens, But
oh, yeah.
That 80 pounds of teeth and bad attitude changed his mind in a hurry. So she wasn't a big German Shepherd, but she had a big bark. Oof. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Number 45. I got a bad feeling about this, and then we're going to go to our break, it looks like. So when I was 7 or 8, I used to spend Friday nights at my grandma's house. She spoiled the heck out of me, so I loved it. One night, though, I suddenly had a strange urge to call my mom. I dialed my phone number. I mean, I knew my own number, right? A woman answered, and I suddenly blurted out, "Mom, come and get me." I have no idea why, to this day, that came out of my mouth. Like I said, I loved it there. And up until that moment, had no thoughts of being picked up. Anyways, the person on the other end starts to sound panicky and says, "Who are you?" And then hits me that this isn't my mom, so I just hang up and go back to watching television. What? So weird, and it seems so minor, but it stuck with me for like 30 years.
The panic that this child put on this woman.
Yeah, where should I get you? Who the hell are you? I don't know what's going on. He must have misdialed it, but wow. But very strange story, folks. But that's what we love here on the Portal. May not all be paranormal, but it's definitely not normal.
There you go.
Very, very weird stuff, but that's how we roll here. When we come back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into an article from, I'll deal with the froms and stuff after when we come back, but it looks like a really good article, and it's from ufoinfo.com, and it's an article from Paul Stonehill, and we're going to check it out. It's called Beneath the Surface. So when we come back from break, I hope I can read the whole thing. I think I can. I think I can read this in a half hour. But we'll visit this in just a little bit when we come back. It kind of has to do with some weird creatures under the water in a lake in Russia. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be wacky, but it's the Paranormal Portal. And it's Saturday night, so remember, if you're watching on TFR TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, you can check out Paisley Wild coming up next. She has the show The Spaces Between, and that's coming up next. And it's basically her pagan journey and her learning and exploring the esoteric world around her, and just a really good show with some great insights and a lot of knowledge. Lots of gnosis being laid out on the show. So check it out. She's a wonderful friend and does a great job. So that'll be coming up next if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live. And you can also check her out on her YouTube channels, usually broadcasting live there as well at youtube.com, The Spaces Between. So that's coming up next. TFR is just on fire, folks. That's our mother network. That's the home where the Paranormal Portal started, believe it or not, all those years ago in 2016. And we're still at it. So, but check it out, and definitely check out tfrlive.com. If you like a lot of alternative programming, they got some amazing hosts over there. Not only the Portal, but several other amazing hosts as well, doing some great shows from everything from gematria to flat earth to politics, insides, conspiracies, the whole works. It's all there, and nutrition and better living. So lots of great channels, shows on the tfrlive.com. Check it out. Become a member if you like. That's how you help support all of us. So, and keep the lights on. But we're going to go to our break. I guess I just talked into the break, really. I don't have the bumpers, but we'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. And we're back. And we're back
Just
on the
like-
air, too. Wow. We caught it all in the same time. I ended up going late to the break and playing that break music, and it worked out perfect because even though we're not hearing bumpers, I assume they're happening on TFR. It's just not happening through the host line. So we can't hear it here, but I'm sure it's still happening. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into... we are going to get into another article here, and thank you for indulging me on that last article. I think it's a lot of fun, even though, again, many of the stories were not at all paranormal related. They are still creepy, and they still kind of run that gambit. Some of them may be kind of paranormal, you know, and I don't know, it may be me just trying to justify it, but sometimes some people act like they're under the influence of something else completely. You know, and therefore, maybe they are paranormal. Maybe they're not thinking of their own accord. Maybe that's some of the broken out there is people that have possession or oppression or some kind of wacky stuff going on. Good to see all of you guys. Maybe we should do a shout-outs quick. Maybe
Hey, good idea.
Let's see who's here because we haven't done that tonight. Nobody's in the TFR chat, so creepy is good. Thank you, Sugar. Appreciate that. Not too many people are chatting right now. We got Daniel Ravenstar. How you doing, Daniel Ravenstar? Good to see you. Dream is here. Hi, Dream. Elaine is here. Hi, Elaine. Helping man the fort, of course. Eric, the artist formerly known as Rick the Purple Hobbit. Ghost Magnet. Good to see you both. Can Squatch is here. Somebody just, Android popped in. Good. I'm here. Rachel Gets It Right is here. Also, someone helping man in the flow. Peyton Pop.
Peyton!
How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Ruger Ridge is also here. Sheldon, you're here. Sugar Britches is here. Wanda Urker is here. Good to see you guys. Thank you. And more names are popping up. I don't know who just came in. Because it populates the list alphabetically. So all of a sudden the list moves, and I don't know where the new name popped up. So I'm trying to see if somebody else's name came up. Asset Ramses. Okay, there it is. Yep. Oh, someone else popped in. I don't know who. Mean Green Meme Machine. Mean Green Meme Machine is here. Can Squatch is here. Okay. Lady J Homestead just came in. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you're not chatting, I don't see your name on the list. So it only gives us the participants. It doesn't give us observers. So I wish it gave us observers, really, to be honest with you, but it doesn't do that. Someone else
That would be
popped in,
nice,
too.
yeah.
Justin Good Earth. How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for all of you that are here. It's always a pleasure to be surrounded by such amazing people while we do the show. And doing the show. Speaking of doing the show, it's time for that arc. I never turned on the moon tonight either. Man, I'm slipping, Sheldon.
Yeah, what's going on?
What is going on?
All those sick days getting you nice and comfy.
Whatever. Yeah, I was so comfy trying to breathe and coughing up my lungs and stuff. Man, that was a good break. Whew. It's like spa day. Well, I got, all the sweating and breaking of the fevers. It was awesome. Let's go. Here we are. Let's continue. All right, so the article we're going to get into now, again, comes from ufoinfo.com. And this is an article. I'd never heard of this site before, but I stumbled onto it today, and I checked this out. I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I figured we feature them on the show tonight as well. And their article is this, and I read a little bit of it. Russian underwater encounters. What lurks beneath the surface? Again, it's an article from Paul Stonehill. Now, before I get started, let me just remind you that I have a Midwestern palate.
Oh.
I'm used to shaping words in accordance with that palate. However, Russian names are not really good for me. So if I brutalize the hell out of these names, I just want you to remember I'm doing my best.
True.
Do not grade my performance and hand it back to me with red marks all over it and sad faces. All right. Article from Paul Stonehill. In the summer of 1982, Mark Steinberg, along with Lieutenant Colonel, I should know that one, Gennady Zverev, were conducting periodic training at the reconnaissance divers Frogmen of the Turkestan and Central Asia military regions. The training exercises had been taking place at the Issyk Kul Lake, a deep water lake at the Transilisk Alatau area. Quite unexpectedly, the officers were paid a visit by a very important official, Major General V. Damyanko, commander of the Military Divers Service of the Engineer Forces of the Ministry of Defense. That's a big acronym. USSR. He arrived to inform the local officers of an extraordinary event that had occurred during similar training exercises in the Trans-Baikal and Western Siberia military regions. There, during their military training dives, the frogmen had encountered mysterious underwater swimmers. Very human-like, but huge in size, almost 3 meters in length, which is like 9 or 10 feet. The swimmers were clad in tight-fitting silvery suits, despite icy cold water temperatures. At the depth of 50 meters, these swimmers had neither scuba diving equipment, aqualungs, or any other equipment, only sphere-like helmets concealing their heads. With the local military commander, quite alarmed by such encounters, decided to capture one of the creatures. This is where it goes bad.
Ooh.
Decided to capture one of the creatures. That's never a good thing. Where the hell was I? There we go. With that purpose in mind, a special group of 7 divers under the command of an officer had been dispatched. As the frogmen tried to cover the creatures with a net, the entire group was thrown out of the deep waters to the surface by some powerful force. Now, because autonomous equipment of the frogmen does not allow surfacing from such depths without strict adherence to a process of decompression stops, all of the members of the ill-gated, I don't know if it's ill-gated or ill-fated, expedition were stricken with aeroembolism of the Caisson disease. The only remedial treatment available consisted of an immediate confinement under decompression conditions in a pressure chamber. They had several such pressure chambers in the military region, but only one in working condition. It could contain no more than 2 persons. Hence, local CO had forced 4 frogmen into the chamber. As a result, 3 of them, including the leader of the group, perished, and the rest became invalids. Terrible consequences caused by the usual Soviet military bungling. The Major General rushed to the Issyk Kul to warn the local military against similar devil-may-care actions. Although the Issyk Kul Lake is more shallow than the Baikal Lake, the depth of the former was sufficient to contain similar mysterious creatures. Did the Major General know something the officer Scheitenberg did not? A short time later, the staff headquarters of the Turkmenistan military region had received an order from the commander-in-chief of the land forces. The order consisted of detailed analysis of the Baikal Lake events and reprimands. It was supplemental by an information bulletin from the headquarters of the engineer forces of the Ministry of Defense, USSR. The bulletin listed numerous deep-water lakes where there had been registered sightings of anomalous phenomena, appearances of underwater creatures, analogous to the Baikal type, descent and surfacing of giant disks and spheres, powerful luminescence emanating from the deep, etc. Such documents, without exception, were highly classified and for the eyes of a very limited circle of military officers. The purpose of such documents was to prevent unnecessary encounters. The territory under military unit jurisdiction where Scheitenberg had served had an anomalous water reservoir, the Saraz Lake, in the Pamir area. It was roughly 1.5 kilometers deep. Saraz is visible to those stationed at a tracking point in the Pamir Mountains. The tracking is of American SDI satellites by Russians. Super powerful instruments and devices of the Soviet military subunit had been doing the actual tracking. I had repeatedly registered submersion into the Saras of disc-like objects, their surfacing and subsequent liftoff. The files of the Russian Ufology Research Center contain much more information about Russian underwater sightings, including statements of naval officers and intelligence operatives, while the most interesting information will be published in the new book co-authored by Paul Stonehill and Philip Mantle, it is safe to conclude that the Soviets before and the Russians now are preoccupied with the strange and sinister creatures lurking in their waters. The Russian Ufology Research Center has a collection of hydrosphere aspect sightings. The secret files of the Soviet Navy contain much valuable information on UFO sightings. Soviet military researchers are quite thorough. The files have been largely inaccessible even after the fall of the USSR, but I was able to collect some interesting information. Submarines. Mr. Krapiva, who resides in Ukraine, attended numerous lectures presented by veteran officers of Soviet nuclear-powered submarines, and they had served in the Soviet North aboard secret naval installations and bases. The lectures sometimes veered off the planned presentations, and many spellbinding tales were told. For instance, episodes where Soviet sonar operators, military hydroacoustic technicians, were hearing at great depths strange targets. Their submarines were actually being chased by other submarines. The pursuers changed their speed at will, speeds that were much faster than any other similar vessel in the world at the time. Lieutenant Commander Oleg Sokolov confidentially informed the students that while he was on duty during his submarine's navigation, he had observed through a periscope an ascent of some strange object through the water. He was not able to identify it because he viewed it through the optical system of the periscope. This underwater takeoff took place in the early 1960s. Then there's Sevastopol. A few years ago, V.V. Krapiva met with Professor Korsakov of the Odessa University. Professor Korsakov told him of a conversation he had with a friend of his, a Soviet Navy officer who had served at the Sevastopol naval base. Back in the 1950s, this officer personally sighted a UFO. The object ascended from behind a battle cruiser. The officer was under the impression that the object surfaced from the depths of the Black Sea. Professor Korsakov has a photograph of the object. Then there's eyewitness reports. In August 1965, a crew of the steamship Raduga, while navigating in the Red Sea, observed an unusual phenomena. At about 2 miles away, a fiery sphere dashed out of the under the water and hovered over the surface of the sea, illuminating it. The sphere was 60 meters in diameter. That's huge. And it hovered above the sea at an altitude of 150 meters. A gigantic pillar of water ascended upwards as the sphere emerged from the sea and collapsed some moments later. In December of 1977, not far from the Novi Georgi Island, the crew of the fishing trawler Vasily Kiselev also observed something quite extraordinary. Rising vertically from under the water was a donut-shaped object. Its diameter was between 300 and 500 meters. Damn, these things are big. It hovered at an altitude of 4 to 5 kilometers. The trawler's radar station was immediately rendered inoperative. The object hovered over the area for 3 hours and then disappeared instantly. The testimony of Alexander G. Globa, a seaman from Gori, a Soviet tanker, was published in Zagadki, Svinska, I don't know, I'm close. Svinska, I think. Magazine, issue number 3, 1992 in Odessa. In June of 1984, Gori was in the Mediterranean, 20 nautical miles from the Strait of Gibraltar at 1600. Globa was on duty. With him was the second-in-command, S. Bolotov. They were standing watch at the left bridge extension wing when both men observed a strange polychromatic object. I don't know if that must mean many-colored object. Is that what polychromatic means? I think. When the object was astern, it stopped suddenly. Asbolotov was agog, shaking his binoculars and shouting, "It's a flying saucer, a real saucer. My God, hurry, hurry, look." Globa looked through his own binoculars and saw at a distance over the stern a flattened-out looking object. It did remind him of an upside-down frying pan. The UFO was gleaming with grayish metallic shine. The lower portion of the craft had a precise round shape. Its diameter no more than 20 meters around the lower portion of it. Globa had also observed waves of protuberances on the outside plating. The base of the object's body consisted of 2 semi-discs, the smaller being on top, then they slowly revolved in opposing directions. At the circumference of the lower disk, Globus saw numerous shining, bright, bead-like lights. The seaman's attention was centered on the bottom portion of the UFO. It looked as if it were completely even and smooth, its color that of a yolk, with the middle of it, Globa discerned a round nucleus-like stain. At the edge of the UFO's bottom, which was easily visible, was something that looked like a pipe. It glowed with an unnatural bright rosy color like a neon lamp. The top of the middle of the disk was crowned by a triangular-shaped something. It seemed that it moved in the same direction as the lower disk, but at a much slower pace. Suddenly, the UFO jumped up several times as if moved by an invisible wave. Many lights illuminated its bottom portion. The crew of Gori tried to attract the object's attention using a signal projector, but by the time Captain Sokolovsky was on the desk with his men, he and the second in command were watching the object intensely. However, the UFO's attention was distracted by another ship approaching at the port side, and it was an Arab dry cargo ship on its way to Greece. The Arabs confirmed that the object hovered over their ship. A minute and a half later, the object changed its flight trajectory, listed to the right, gained speed, and ascended rapidly. The Soviet seamen observed that when it rose through the clouds, appearing and disappearing again, it would occasionally shine in the sun's rays. The craft then flared up like a spark and was gone instantly. The history. The earliest mention of giant beings resembling Scheitenberg's swimmers goes back to the early 1900s. Several boys in Georgia, Russian Empire, discovered a cave inside of a mountain full of human-like skeletons, and each skeleton was 3 meters in height. Oh, cool. To get to the cave, the boys had to dive into a lake. George Papashvili and his wife recall the incident in a book, Anything Can Happen, published in New York in 1925, St. Martin's Press. Vladimir Georgievich Ajaja nowadays is a prominent personality in the Russian Ufological Association. But he was not always a ufologist. And when he became one, he earned the ire of the Communist Party's dislike of those who study forbidden topics. With the help of his highly placed Navy buddies, he was able to write a piece about the Bermuda Triangle for Nauka Zhizhin, a respected Soviet scientific magazine. After all, he was a marine researcher who on numerous occasions studied the depths of the Atlantic Ocean from aboard a Soviet submarine with many features designed by him. Other mainstream Soviet marine researchers would not touch such a questionable subject. In his search for the information, 2 sources helped him. Charles Berlitz's The Bermuda Triangle book that mentioned the UFOs. I love Charles Berlitz. His books are awesome. He could find no other books in the libraries, and Vice Admiral Y.V. Ivanov, head of the Naval Intelligence Directorate, Ajaja found out that the Naval Intelligence had long considered UFOs to be a subject of serious investigation, but his newly found conviction put him on thin ice. Ajaja's efforts to study and promote ufology made him a target of the science officialdom and the party's functionaries. His name was smeared in the Soviet media. Ajaja's works were blacklisted. His lectures were outlawed. He was fired from several jobs and prevented from speaking publicly. Again, his Navy buddies helped him land a job and write about UFOs for their practical use. In his brochure, Attention UFOs, he stated that the UFO wave of 1989, still in progress in 1991, when it was published, had swept away ideological and censorship barriers which were placed against ufology in the USSR. But because of the years of silence, the country had been rendered totally unprepared for the UFO phenomena. So he helped to organize Soyuz to Center to promote scientific study of UFO phenomena. It broke away from its cradle, the Soviet Academy of Sciences, because, as were numerous other people, Ajaja was convinced that those responsible for the UFO research within the Academy actually prevented true and unbiased research. Yeah, that's true everywhere. A. Gorbovsky, a Soviet historian and noted writer now residing in the United Kingdom, published a book titled Enigmas of Ancient History. In the early 1970s, for many people in the Soviet Union, this book was an introduction to the forbidden world of ufology, of paleocontact, a Russian term for the ancient astronaut hypothesis. and the mysteries of our ancient history. Grabowski mentions an incident that took place in the ancient Mediterranean where people observed a strange underwater vehicle surfacing at high speed. The object ejected itself from the water and shortly thereafter disappeared. B. Borakov hunted black sea sharks for many years, then something happened to put an end to his hobby. Diving in the Anap area, he descended to the depth of 8 meters. He saw giant beings rising up from below. They were milky white, but with humanoid faces and something like fish tails. The being ahead of its companions noticed Borovikov and stopped. It had giant bulging eyes, as if some vague glasses. The other two joined it. The first one waved her hand. It was definitely a hand with membranes towards the diver, and all of them approached the diver and stopped at a short distance. When they turned around and swam away, Borovikov's experience was published in XXVEC Chronica, something from Moscow. I don't know what Neobajnazomogo is, but I'm doing my best. 1996. D. Povialev. I'm really sorry, folks. I just don't know how to handle all those letters together. Was hang gliding, must be hang gliding, over the Kavgalov, Leningrad area in the early 1990s. There are lakes, and in one of them, the skydiver noticed 3 giant, quote, fish. He descended and was able to discern swimmers in silvery costumes. He mentions the episode on his book, Letucci Galandets, in 1995, and there have been many UFO sightings in the area. There we go. So that's pretty much it. He does a subtext, but it's interesting how many times those silvery metallic giant beings come up in the text. It kind of reminds me of I don't remember what came from it, but we were talking about how, like, as far as we know, like extraterrestrials could already be here, but like places we can't get to, such as like maybe in the ocean, the deepest places that we can't get to. Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that.
Right. It's hard to know because we certainly have to deal with very rudimentary physics forces, but I assume these advanced extraterrestrials, or maybe they're terrestrial but just advanced to us, whatever the case, wherever they're from, they seem to have found ways around that. I mean, they don't deal with inertia the same way in their craft because people are observing them doing right angles at blinding speed. Well, that should press them into like bug grease on the inside of their craft if they're dealing with normal inertia, just the changing of direction that make a human body probably explode at that. But somehow they're isolating themselves from the physics of the area they're in. And I assume that that's probably true in terms of, deep underwater pressure. Like they can do the same thing, just, remove themselves from the crushing pressure by, whatever field or whatever, if it's some kind of subspace field or whatever, but where they're in their own physics, but they're traveling through ours. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like slicing off a piece, like slicing off your living room. And no matter what you do, it feels like you're sitting there watching a movie. But in reality, your living room is going at, near light speed at right angles and stuff, but you don't feel it. You just feel like you're cruising the channels on your living room. So your body is not being subjected to the physics of what's going on around you. So how that's accomplished, I don't know, but it's very incredible.
I mean, there's also the consideration that like these craft that do those like crazy 90-degree turn angles, like you were saying, that they're not manned at all. That maybe they're drones of some sort, or like you said, that they have some sort of technology to compensate for those kinds of crazy turns or whatever. Right,
and we don't know anything about that, but Ancient Ruby came in and said, "We are the children." Absolutely, I mean, we're the infants in the ball game here. These other quote unquote races of beings are probably hundreds, thousands, millions of years advanced to us. So, I mean, what does that look like? And we've postulated this many times on the show, but what does 50 years of technology look like to us? Because just take a chunk of time 50 years ago and then compare it to now, and you're living in two totally different realities. just based on the amount of advancement and capabilities. So what does 100 years look like then? What does 1,000 years look like? What does 10,000 years look like? I mean, and it's, what isn't possible? I mean, everything is possible. So these beings, these intelligences, whatever they are way ahead in the game. So I think that's a very valid observation, Ancient Ruby. I think you're right. I think they are. But I'll tell you what, we are at the end of the show, Sheldon.
Oh my Lord.
Yes, it happened.
It always happens every time.
Quickly. But why don't you tell people one thing they can do to stay in touch?
Well, for you, if you guys want to stay in touch with us and see all the links that we share with each other in the community, you can join the Discord here. At least the YouTube chat will be able to see it, but I'll link it here in the chat. You can connect with us, talk with us, ask any questions, share any links, thoughts, whatever you'd like.
That's right. There you go. Android Purity says, we are spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour right now with the Earth and don't feel it because the Earth's gravity field around it. So the UFO must have gravity fields too. Yeah, could be a gravity field. That's true.
Right.
To my knowledge, comes out in old age. Yeah, you're welcome, Ancient Ruby. And Rick the Purple Hobbit says, we are Yuhimud people to them. Yeah, I'm sure we are. I don't know. I hope I think they're here. I don't think they're here as an invading force, like some people like to think that. But anyway, we are done with the show, ladies and gentlemen. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. We'll see you tomorrow night. Love you all. See you soon.
Good night.